ulti's going to pop off from Oracle. Hook back in from Andros. Going to be charging up that epicenter. No one's getting out of here. That's 3 going down. Disruptor, he was de-warding. Look at the damage. Oracle buys back. Sweet as honey, says the big boy bear, and they are going to just crush your high ground from this. What a massive fight.
Welcome back, folks. Day 1 brought a fantastic double series to start off week 3, but we are back with day 2 and the games just keep on sizzling. I'm excited, but bringing you through it is me, GTH and Dota, and the WanderingBard. What a way to start off the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Last night, I mean, we knew it was going to be a great night of games just from the schedule, and it did not disappoint. 4 great matches between some of the top teams in contention for this LPL Pro season, and some decisive results, GTH.
Oh yeah, FF1v2, 2-0ing Toons Reborn, and Crossfire actually going down 2 games to Need Uprising.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are all great teams. Still, someone's got to win, but Need Uprising certainly made it a statement. That's an old rivalry, and those teams have looked even in the past, but Neat's made a clear gap between themselves and Crossfire, putting themselves right up there in the top echelon with FF1v2 and one of tonight's competitors, Team Oracle.
That's right, Oracle beginning to play this week, but right now FF1v2, they are on top of the board, 6-0 Need Uprising, getting to second place at 5-1, then Crossfire following suit at 4-2, and then we got the other teams, Oracle playing tonight 4-0, Internal Discord 2-4, AGN playing against Oracle 1-3, and 2-3 board, unfortunately at the bottom, 0-6.
Yeah, you have to feel bad for them, especially considering all of their matches have actually felt quite competitive. You know, this is a very even season, maybe the most even we've ever seen in the LPL Pro League. But like we said, someone's got to win, and right now we're really sorting out who the winners amongst the winners are. Tonight, Oracle have the chance to put themselves right up there with FF1v2 if they can take out AGN 2-0, which is no mean feat considering that AGN stole the game from Needs Uprising last week.
That's right, the grand final rivalry did pay off. They managed to take a game off from Needs, who from yesterday were performing fantastically, so that is one a massive feat in itself, but the squad that brought them the victory, they're still looking pretty solid. The team, pretty solid in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. AGN, we've now seen a couple of seasons from these guys. They keep on improving and improving. Their roster slightly improved this season as well by the addition of Dire Straits, but Farnsworth, Gamers Hard, TCG, and Booty Loot have been grinding it out. They always have a certain flair to their drafts that I really enjoy, and I think is a little bit different from the other teams in the competition. And maybe that's why we've seen them consistently be the team to sort of step up and make upsets happen over the last couple of seasons.
Well, it'd be a big upset because they're going up against one of the best teams that we've seen. They've got Titans of Australian Dota in their squad. We know the names. Lose Yourself, Zemetry, Kelvin, Godot, Warboons. It's hard to just isolate a real pinnacle of the team because these guys just work so well together.
Yeah, but for the sake of argument, I think I will. I'm going to hold out Zemistry as maybe the number one reason that Oracle are 4-0 at the moment. Not that any of these players is anything less than sort of one of the top in their position in the region, but Zemistry has been dominating mid every game, every matchup, really just setting Oracle so far ahead, and opponents struggle to find a way to levy that disadvantage because every other lane is so strong as well. It's so difficult to find a chink in the armor.
That is right, and it's up to AGN to find that chink in the armor. They were able to find something with Need Uprising. They found one little small point that they could actually just break on open and take one game away for them. So maybe they can do it for Team Oracle. They would be the team that can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially like you said, since now that Neats have shown that they weren't slumping in form, they haven't fallen off from last season when they were the champions, right? Like the achievement of AGN to split their series with them the previous week is now looking like a much larger achievement, and it does sort of give you the sense they might be in striking distance of Oracle, especially if Oracle have an off night, especially if Oracle are playing with a stand-in that might compromise some of the drafts they've practiced or some of their overall strategy.
Yeah, it did show Need Uprising did have to unfortunately play in a stand-in last week, and they did lose that game to it, so maybe that's going to be the difference. But before we get right into the action, we've got to cut to a quick short break to see some messages from our sponsors. And we are back after that short break. We're just going to get straight into the action. Game 1, it's seeming pretty big. AGN really need to bring it this game. Is there anything that you can point from the previous weeks that they really need to work on and bring it against Oracle, who aren't going to give them any inches here?
I think their core matchups, sometimes they don't seem to have quite secured the right lanes for their cores to really have a great start. And you know the team Oracle, if anyone, are going to seize on that and really end the game fast if your safe lane collapses, for instance. So I think that maybe just pay attention in the drafting phase to making sure your lanes are sound more than any other like quirky picks or strategies you might have. Back yourselves. You can potentially take it up to Oracle in a fair game of Dota.
That is true. And looking at the bans here, it's kind of a mirror image to DDoP Rising bans, at least from AGN. They've taken out the Lone Druid, they've taken out the Enchantress, they've taken out Jam, but Team Oracle, they're going to spread it. They're taking out Snapfire, the Phoenix, and the Lycan.
Yeah, just taking out heroes that are relatively strong in the patch, although Snapfire and Phoenix aren't totally normal bans. I think that might be a little bit of targeting comfort heroes or just targeting heroes that Team Oracle maybe don't want to play against. The Phoenix and the Snapfire in particular are very safe sort of defensive heroes in terms of like taking a team fight from a defensive position. You have that Supernova or Sunray or Mortimer's Kisses in the back of a fight. It can be difficult to handle. So perhaps looking to play some sort of aggressive pushing draft or just trying to make them work a bit harder to win team fights.
Well, speaking of working hard, the first pick Ember is going to bring a Team Oracle. They're not taking any names. They're just going straight for the big heroes here. A first pick Ember.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen a lot of first pick Quap or early pick Quap in the current patch, and we've talked to death about how versatile that hero is and how you can pick it so early because despite being a dominant mid laner, she's equally serviceable in other lanes. And I think Ember Spirit, not quite to the same degree, but I've seen teams play this 1, I've seen teams play this 3. I don't even put it past Team Oracle to play this as a 4-position Ember, although I wouldn't recommend it, but I bet they could still win. So
yeah,
why not?
You like to play it off. Hey, it might work out, but a nice little safe pick from AGN. They're going back for the Clockwork, which we know is really flexible and really effective in this season. Every single team that's mostly picked up Clockwork, I don't think it's 100%, but it's certainly above 50% win rate for the Clockwork itself.
10 seconds.
Yeah, Clockwork is a real hit or miss hero though, so at least it shows some confidence in the drafting. Going with a Nature's Prophet as well, so huge global ganking presence coming out from these two heroes. Although, it must be said, Clockwork, great, his job is to contain mobile heroes. That's what you think of it doing. You hookshot onto them, you trap them in the cogs, you activate the battery, it's hard to get away. But there's a threshold where a couple of heroes have such strong mobility that Clockwork, because he doesn't put out like a consistent stun or silence, actually struggles to deal with. And Ember Spirit's one of them. There is like no cast point on activating a Remnant, sliding, or any of the other things that Ember Spirit does to get around. And it's very hard to keep him contained within the cogs. Nature's Prophet will have the same problem with the Sprout. Going to need to have an Orchid pretty fast here. Oh no, and the Ember Spirit problem is exacerbated now.
We got the combination. Searing Chain's going to be used up twice, and then again, he's never going to run out of mana as well, so Clockwork's job is even harder now, so Team Oracle getting a nice little slip through with the classic combo that we know they can play.
Remaining.
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways, though. Like, okay, Keeper of the Light and Ember Spirit is one of the strongest combos you can have on the patch. Coddle's a very, very strong support right now, partly because of how well he synergizes with Ember and Ursa, who are, two of the strongest cores. The double slight, double chains combo will just take out team fights. If this is your mid laner in particular, it can be your whole game plan. Like, it's that strong. In the safe lane, it just means that your Ember Spirit has like an extra bit of priority on him. But as much as it enhances the Ember, Keeper is a much better natural target for Clockwork and Nature to gank.
That is true. The man can't do much if you get on top of him. In fact, they're banning some interesting heroes as well. Kunkka being taken out, a hero that can really take advantage of the fact Total has no HB and no real escape here. So they're really worried about this big ganking presence.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's also true that Kunkka actually kind of feeds Ember Spirit his own laning presence. Ember, currently, is such a strong mid lane hero because the Sleight of Fist buffs means that you just take over the lane or inevitably trade in the lane by putting out this very consistent, reliable AoE damage on cooldown. And that's what Kunkka does with Tidebringer. But Kunkka has more health. I believe the Tidebringer scales better. And Kunkka has ganking potential that Ember has to respect. It's difficult to get out of X Mark into further stuns. And that means that Ember has to play a lot more scared than he'd like to.
So a very smart ban coming out from Team Oracle here, but AGN, they're going for the TA, which is probably one of Zemistri's, I wouldn't say he's most comfortable here, but man knows how to handle a TA, and against an NP just gets destroyed by TAs.
Yeah, I mean, Nature's Prophet, we've seen it be, this is a patch where it feels strong, and when it feels strong, look at this hero and go, God, how did I struggle out of this in the game? Teleports everywhere on the map, can buy every item, farm super fast, huge agi growth, scaling carry, but then the raw stats on this hero are pretty bad. And heroes like
5
Templar,
seconds
who are
remaining.
very strong in their early timings and put out huge damage, definitely expose Nature's Prophet for not being really everything you'd want in a farming core, if indeed that's what this Nature's Prophet is. It's interesting, though, the ban on the TA implies that AGN don't think this is a mid-ember.
Yeah, well, I guess you do have that Coddle Ember combination, but that could be a bait the entire time. There might be just something else you want to pair with the Coddle, and then you have both option from. So Team Oracle drafting pretty smart so far, but the third pick from AGN, they are really thinking about it. If you do have a core NP and maybe the position 4 cock, what are you lacking here? What do you need, say, Dire Straits or Game is Hard to play around here? We know Trent Protector still in the pool, but does it work?
Whoa.
It does, but
War
this also
consent.
works. Okay.
Hero that we haven't
So
seen
you're
too
still
much of.
flexible. This could be 2 supports and a core. This could be 2 cores and a support. You really aren't sure with this draft. It's a pretty open and flexible one. You are looking kind of aggressive, and I do think they eventually want a ranged carry. I don't think you want a melee carry when you've got Sprout and Cogs in play. You're just going to get in your own way too much.
10
Drow is
seconds
actually
remaining.
looking like a decent hero. Obviously Warlock and Natures aren't agi
5
carries, and with the
seconds
changes to
remaining.
Drow's aura, it's not as easy to just stack your team with huge amounts of free damage, but you definitely benefit from giving those heroes agi, and Drow with her silence is actually a pretty decent piece of control against Ember. Huge damage in the early to mid game as well before the hero is truly online. But Oracle, they have an opportunity here to pick an Ursa if they want. Arguably the best carry of the patch. Great lane combo with Coddle, which means that eventually in the mid game, your Coddle has 2 fantastic targets for the combo.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm kind of still worried about the fact that they don't have the greatest control for Ember Spirit. Sure, Nature Prophet can build an Orchid, but that's what, 4,000 gold that you have to be able to get. And Oracle, these guys go really strong from the landing stage. So is it something that they really need to be concerned about?
Yeah, I think AGN are approaching this more from a strategic idea of how to counter the Ember Spirit rather than just try and go for hard lockdown spell after hard lockdown spell and they're getting counterpicked with the last pick. They're looking for these heroes that control the map, huge vision advantage, huge mobility advantage, and great pushing from the Treants and from the Warlock Golem. Obviously, they haven't even picked their carries yet, so they can double down on that. Clockwork is kind of the obligate initiator that you want to have to punish people for trying to defend and to set up towers with picks, but that does mean that if you are committing to an early push timing to try and get under the Ember Spirit strategy, Team Oracle can just pick defensive creep clearing heroes and kind of neuter that. And they already have the Coddle, who obviously is one of the best ones in that category.
That's kind of scary. And now they've got the find as well. Tusk being picked up third. Pretty good with
10
Sleight of Fist.
seconds
It doesn't
remaining.
really matter if you do have a Coddle as well, because Tusk has some pretty good damage himself. And what can
5
Warlock even
seconds
do to get
remaining.
away from him?
Nothing at all, really. And even Nature's Prophet struggles unless you get a Shadow Blade or something like that, or an extremely well-timed Sprout, because the Snowball will just roll through the Sprout, roll through the Cogs. Tusk is a great combo with Ember Spirit. For those who don't know, the tag team obviously enhances the early damage potential and provides for a lot of ganks. And, of course, if you buy a Blink Dagger, especially if you're a more of a defensively itemized support Tusk, you can save the Ember Spirit should AGN dip back for a long silence like a Skywrath Mage or another heavy crowd control hero. You can always wrap him up in the Snowball as a guaranteed way to keep him alive.
Fair enough. But 35 seconds left for AGN. They're really thinking about this 4th pick here. They do need to show something. They need to show a call. They have no options left. And even if you put MP in the off lane, it's going to have to be a carry here. Is there anything that really jumps out? Like, Drow, it seems very good with the silence, but is there anything else that really suits this build?
I mean, Quap's still in the pool. It's hard to ever go wrong with that hero right now. She provides a bit of AoE damage in teamfight that you don't have, but it's especially good with obviously the Fatal Bonds from the Warlock. You're being rewarded for AoE damage here. They go with the Necro instead, so kind of the opposite hero, right? But similarly strong. I don't mind this pick.
Yeah, it seems like they just
this
want to
is-
sit in a lane, push towers, Necro gives a little bit of regen, NP does the damage, and they just move as a force, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted the Quap just because it gives a little bit more flexibility. It's very, very strong in the lane. You can potentially wombo combo the Ember down or something of that sort. But yeah, the Necro is going to be your heart of sustainability. You keep all these pushes going unless you get yanked out of your team by the Batrider and killed. That is going to cut things off in a hurry.
Yeah, it seems like one of the worst. I'm pretty sure Batrider is one of the worst matchups against the Necro. Batrider destroys the man.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I mean, Necrophos doesn't really have any mobility items, and he doesn't like to build them either. It's not really a Blink Dagger hero. You rely on being able to tank. You want the enemy to come to you, but that means if you get hauled into the enemy team by the Batrider, especially if you get chain stunned, you're not activating your Ghost Shroud. You're not getting your Scythe off to trigger the huge regen you get when you kill a hero. So he's actually not as tanky as he looks like. It's not like a Timbersaw or something that just has a huge wall of health and armor on it.
Oh, no.
Might see Oracle ban the Oracle here. I know it's their pet hero, but I'm sure they want to remove a counter to the Bat. So either that or the Abaddon, one of these hard dispels might be the go.
It seems like they're leaving the opportunity, but then the lane seem a little bit...
5 seconds remaining.
I mean, they can work, but is that the way you really want to play this draft?
I mean, playing safe lane Nature's, mid lane Necro, off lane Clockwork is a very incredibly aggressive set of core heroes, but it's not a failed set of core heroes, right? You've still got the Necrophos anchoring your push, the Clockwork as an initiator and space creator, and Nature's Prophet as your tower hitter and damage, right? And you still got the push from all those creeps. You were going for an early timing anyway. If you're going to double down on it, double down on it. But alternatively, they could go back for a Vengeful or something. There are other ways to break the Batrider lasso that fit in with the idea of a pushing or a minion-based lineup.
What about Ricky?
That's an interesting idea. I mean, it's great control for Ember and a way to stop Bat from getting his initiation off if you're fast-fingered. You're vulnerable to getting grabbed by the Bat, but the Quap for Oracle now.
The Quap stolen. All right, some good soul lanes here, and I guess we've seen where. Oh, okay, I would have said previously we've seen where the heroes are going to be landing, but Quap is flexible, Batrider's flexible, hell, Ember's flexible, so Oracle still are flexible, and now AGN they need to get their final pick against all this flex. Well, you're saying Vengeful Spirit. Is there anything else that just fits here now that you've seen the Quap?
I think it's still like Venge or Luna or Drow if you want to carry, or they go for Life Stealer. Okay. That's a very interesting pick.
Yeah. Interesting enough to give him the game, though?
I don't really get this pick at all. I mean, okay, so you have Rage. That's decent for surviving control, like maybe the Coddle or the Ember, but how are you catching these heroes, right? There's very little stun on AGN, and you're against multiple blinks, ranged heroes, fast-moving heroes, crowd control heroes. I guess it's just to be a tower sieger with Rage, but I mean, I would have preferred Juggernaut for that. Was Jug banned if you really have to go?
Jug was banned, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess maybe they just want a melee hero with a built-in BKB, and Lifestealer, one advantage of him is he can be very survivable, right? Like, maybe they're going to go for the Armlet build, where you just sort of have infinite health. You never have to back. You just walk up every Rage cooldown and hit the tower, and they could force a very early timing with this. It's not quite what I imagined, but let's see what AGN had in mind.
Well, we're going to have to find out because game one is going to be loaded on the best of two from Team Oracle and AGN. AGN probably looking to take another game off, one of the best teams in the season so far, because Oracle, they haven't even dropped one yet. They are 4-0 undefeated so far in series. Maybe AGN can do it, but while we do have a moment, we'd like to thank one of our sponsors here for bringing us LPL Season 2 for 2020. WD Black, our fantastic hardware sponsor, always giving us the best hard drives. So you never actually have to choose what game you save on your computer. You can literally have them all, and we thank them for sponsoring this season of LPL.
Yeah, exactly. And we'd also like to thank our monitor sponsor, Conquer. We're going to extra length to support them, just like they go to extra lengths to support us. Second double sponsor shout out for this first game of the night. As we get it out of the way, we always appreciate their support. But looking at this game, how do you think the lanes are actually going to line up for Team Oracle? They could really put, I think the only thing that's consistent is the Coddle is probably a support and Ember is probably a core. Beyond that,
yeah, well, I mean, we can go previous weeks of what the lanes they played, because they do have Zemistry on the Batrider, so assumingly it is mid-Bat, but then again, he doesn't care if it's a mid-Prophet, he doesn't care if it's a mid-Necro, he's happy to take either, so whatever AGN delivers in that mid lane, I'm pretty sure Zemistry is going to be a happy camper.
Yeah, as we said, I think if Zemistry lost a lane, like any lane, it would probably be an upset in and of itself, regardless of the eventual result. He's so confident right now against any of the other mid laners in this competition. And I think that's maybe the advantage that Oracle are going to kind of build their game around, right? If you just give him a good start, you give him a hero that has a strong mid-game timing as he has here on the Quap, whichever lane is maybe initially going well for AGN is going to have to contend with like a Sonic wave rotation quite early. And that's going to be a real issue for them, I think, especially since they've got this early timing and they want to be on the front foot, not sort of huddle back at their tower so that they can bring heroes in and maybe defend against that.
Well, the one thing we do have to worry about is, you know, AGN with their abilities. It doesn't seem like they've really countered the Ember Spirit so far. It doesn't seem like, well, I mean, they've countered some of the Quap with the live steal, but overall they can't hold the Quap down. They can't hold the Bat Rider down. They can't really hold the Ember down. So is their game plan just getting one hell of a team fight? Do they have any way to make rotations? How are you seeing AGN coming out of this laning stage?
Yeah, I love to get to draw this distinction. They've got a classic death ball lineup, and that's a phrase that became a boogeyman for a while in Dota 2, but at this point it's just convenient to describe like an all-in push as a team lineup. If your team does not have initiation to force fights on your terms, you can't just sit back and let yourselves get picked off forever. Maybe if you had a Spectre or something that you were playing for the late game, but these guys aren't. They want to end things early. So what they want to do is be as strong as they possibly can, and then when they want to force a team fight, they just walk at your objective as 5 heroes. If you fight them, they're ready for you. If you don't fight them, they take your towers for free. And so that way, they don't need initiation as much because they just know they're going to get initiated on and they're just building to survive that. They don't have control for the Ember, but if they can win the game before the Ember is strong enough to beat them, it doesn't matter.
It seems like they just want them to come fight, but Oracle, they do have quite early fighting heroes if they want in the runes. It might even be pressure. Looked like Godot's going to be trying to take top rune here, but AGN really not putting any pressure onto it. Yet still on up. Zemistry actually in the bottom lane for the safe lane bat. Seems like we do have mid-Ember. Lose Yourself is going back to mid lane. They're putting Zemistry up against this Necrophos. It seems like the matchup they kind of want here. Do we need to swap lanes if we're AGN, or are we just going to be playing this out?
Might be worth playing some musical lanes here because this lane looks quite miserable. I mean, your Bat Rider on, your Dire Straits Clockwork is going to do his best to try and zone the Bat Rider, but the sticky Napalm Necrophos, it's like the same way that Necrophos has no way to avoid the lasso, right? He's just sitting in the lane, and if he gets covered in tar, he's going to be forced out of that lane very quickly. So that's no good. You need this hero farmed as hell, right? If you're going to be a sitting duck, if you're going to wait for the enemy to come to you, you must be farmed. They need their lanes to go very well because they need to have their core items up first so that they can survive giving away that initiation advantage to Oracle. And that's the biggest challenge I see for them because Oracle are such a strong laning team, just huge individual plays, and they haven't even picked weak laning heroes, right? Like, you could argue they have better lanes.
Yeah, it seems pretty solid, but I believe if we're going back to yesterday night when we had this position for Clockwork, who was up against, I believe, 2 ranged heroes in the lane, he couldn't really keep this Necrophos safe at all. Is it going to be a downside? Maybe can they swap the Clockwork out for the Warlock to give a better lane for the Necro, or do you just put all your eggs on the Farnsworth basket and make sure that he can get, at least, you know, hit a few creeps, get a few items, and then he'll do the damage. Necrophos can get level 6, and whoever lifesteal goes upon, I mean, he just drops the ult. That might be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. They could definitely swap the heroes around, and I wouldn't say, like, oh, that's a terrible decision. Clockwork is kind of a weird hero in lane. Like, his laning presence isn't non-existent, right? Like, Battery Assault is quite a strong spell. Cogs can be lethal to heroes who don't have the tools to get out of it, especially if the Clockwork has follow-up from his teammate. His stats are quite good, moves okay. Like, we've seen plenty of players that plays like Jabs, right, internationally, really showed the limits of this hero, even with no hook shot, even with no fancy items, right? Just clever movement and positioning. But it depends who you're up against, right? I think yesterday the Clockwork is up against a Quap. If you're chain slowed as the Clockwork, if you're taking constant attrition damage, just moving in and out of the lane, that's not going to be good for you. Here, I think he has a better shot, right? Like, what's Lord Boon's going to do to Dire Straits? Seriously.
Well, I guess the one thing he can do is constantly give mana to Zemistry, and Batrider's just going to have a field day.
Yeah, so the issue here is that Clockwork needs to run it at Batrider, and Batrider is going to tar him up, which is going to bait Clockwork into all-inning, right? Because you can't just afford to walk in and out constantly getting napalm stacked on you. You need to fight when you have few napalm stacks. I don't know if they win that all-in, but at least the Necrophos there, like the heals, the damage swing from the heal is quite meaningful in 2v2 fights. So maybe they just need to go for this at level 1, and if it doesn't work out, then they can consider swapping lanes.
Well, I guess we'll see how these lanes go, because we are sticking to it. If we're both sides, nobody budging an inch. Farnsworth, he's farming all right in the top lane. I mean, he's getting pressured up. It's Kelvin on the Quap with, say, a tough support. But then again, there's a Warlock position 5, so no matter what damage you do to the lifesteal, the man's going to have his own lifesteal, and then he's going to have to reset from the Warlock. But Stretcher coming out, in fact, there we go. Zemistry's going straight for booty loot and burning down Necrophos. That's it. That's done. First blood going straight to Zemistry. Bat versus Necro. It seems to go like this every single time.
Yeah, you could see the warning signs there just as that started. Zemistry hit level 2 first, and that's so critical. It doesn't matter all the time, but in certain lanes, it's really game deciding who gets the deny on their range creep, or who gets the better creep block, who starts actively auto-attacking their wave. Like, you've got to really keep an eye on it, because whoever hits that level 2 first in many lanes has a huge advantage. Batrider gaining Firefly on top of Napalm means that suddenly he can commit all in. Clockwork doesn't have the cogs, there's no Ghost Shroud or whatever on the Necrophos, and they just run the Necro down, flying over him with that Firefly. Nothing can stop that.
Particularly, we haven't actually focused on too much about the mid lane matchup. It seems pretty even. The NP is actually getting some great last hits, 12-5, but Amber Spirit's keeping up 14-4, but a lot of that's going to be farming the tree, and Suki Field's going to come better out of the laning stage here. Level 6 from MP is actually much better than it used to be, so maybe this mid MP will be a difference for AGN here.
I think you really would rather be shutting down Lose Yourself, and I think AGN maybe have to take this concession. Oh no.
He sacrificed himself, but he still gets another kill in mid lane here. Here we go. TCG bursts Lose Yourself. He loses in the end, and another kill for Oracle. He did not calculate that one correctly, and he's feeding the Amber Spirit a free kill.
I would think it's worth maybe playing a little bit of musical lanes here and seeing if you can get the Necro in the mid lane and the Prophet into bottom, because I think you're going to have a slightly better time. It's maybe not so much now that there's already an XP disadvantage, but the Necro is not going to be able to stay in this lane. He's going to die every Firefly cooldown.
Oh no, game's hard. He's been called out for twin. Kelv's going to help on out. He's got himself a dagger on the back support. Is dead. Farnsworth literally can't do anything to save his friend, so he just watches on as Lord goes into the ground.
This is what I meant about better lanes, right? Like, they did not pick these heroes around having terrifically powerful laning duos. They picked these with the mid-game 5-man push in mind, right? Like, the Warlock's great at that, Constant Sustain. The Nature's Prophet's great at that, the Necro's great at that. But then you have to try and fit these heroes into a 2-1-2 setup, and they're not terrible lanes, but against, like, Tusk Quap, against, you know, Batrider with constant mana from a Coddle and the ability for, you know, the Coddle just pull constantly as he is now, they do not work out. And you can't play the game plan that AGM want to if you lose your lanes hard.
Yeah, very interesting TP coming up from Dice Race there. Get back to the safety of his tower, but I mean, the last hits aren't terrible. 69 hits in life still. He is farming. The lanes aren't completely falling apart yet. They do have very defensive abilities. In fact, you know, War can drop the ult if they dive too far under a tier 1. Maybe they're just waiting for a little bit of specific timing, and if these lanes go all right, which, I mean, apart from Necrophos, they're going all right. AGN might be comfortable with how this is going. Oh,
yeah, look, you do.
There's good damage adding up. Tag team going through. Rage shots too much, but healing's going to be there. No shots perfectly timed from Juggernaut with Kelvin putting a dagger in the back. They're going to get himself alive. So it's going to take a while, but he's gone. Another kill for Oracle, 5-1.
Did Gamers Hard just kind of body block his own life still there, kind of to death?
A little bit. Kind of.
That's very unfortunate.
Focus on that part.
That's the kind of moment where, like, tempers flare a little bit in team chat. If you're already having a bad game and your support hero just kind of walks in front of you during a critical moment like that and gets you attacked 2 more times, causing you to die, that's hugely costly. Like, tough on Farnsworth.
He is seeming tough on Farnsworth, but he does have 19 last hits. He's beating Kelvin, but I'm pretty sure from net worth we look at, Kelvin's probably a little bit even with him and comfortable as well with the off-lane Queen of Pain having a good effect, and this is probably one of the better matchups they have. A Lifestealer against a Quap. You can purge off most of the dagger damage, and that's kind of the big thing about Quap in the lane, but I don't think it's really paying off in the end. You want him to be dominating, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, sure, you can purge off the Shadow Strike, and normally you would say, oh, that's terrific. If this was a solo Quap, I'm sure the Lifestealer would be very happy. But then you have to reckon with the Tusk, who's a dominant laner in his own right, okay? So the tag team aura means that any hero that's standing near the Tusk is taking bonus damage from auto attacks, and Queen of Pain is there a fight on in middle, it looks like.
TCG. He's getting dived under his tower right now. He does get back to safety with his own TP, so little nice rotation. Doesn't pay off. It keeps TCG out of mid lane, so it gives Lose Yourself some more space, and the man's top net worth 2,800 gold, having a fantastic game already on the Amber Spirit. Oracle kind of winning most of their lanes, even if Kelvin is a little bit short. He's still got the XP, and he's gone for the Necronomicon himself, the off-lane classic. So Oracle feeling really comfortable with a 1k gold lead so far.
Yeah, it's only a 2k gold lead as we tick over the 6-minute mark, but it's pretty disastrous for AGN that this is how the game is going. They needed the situations to be reversed here. The fact that the most farmed hero, okay, his last hits are finessed a little bit, inflated by having killed those Nature's Prophet treants. They're not worth as much gold, but, you know, this Ember Spirit is still getting huge very quickly, and he's the hero that, you know, you were thinking maybe wouldn't be big by the time you got out of the laning stage, that wouldn't have his items up, and now he's going to kill TCG again.
He's rooted, can't TP, and this time he's going down, but Dice Race is going to come in and maybe feed Lose yourself a double kill. The creeps are blocking the battery assault, so he can literally just run you down with a DD. It could have just been one, but maybe make it 3. Game is hard getting caught out with the shards. 3 dying in the matter of minutes. Things falling apart from AGN, and man, that really shouldn't have happened. Maybe Dice Race should have just cancelled his TP there. I don't even know what a clock does to save.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear what their communications are like right now, because you can tell that the, you know, TCG and Dire Straits were not talking to each other there. For one, Dire Straits teleported in with 0 mana, right? So that's an intimidation tip. He can't do anything once he arrives. Oh, Zemistry.
Don't worry about it. Oh, wow. Okay, that was closer than I thought it was, but whew.
The rocket,
if the rocket did land, that would have been a kill, right? Yeah.
Yeah, depending on what level it was, that hurts. Fired assuming he would run away. Look, that's a cross-map rocket, right? So it's like you can't really put it on Dire Straits, but in a moment like this, any missed kill like that you could feasibly have gotten, it feels like a dagger. So AGN, they've got to hang tight here, but they've got to talk as well, right? There's no reason to be teleporting into DD Embers and feeding them. This looks like a better rotation.
Embers come right on in, finds TCG. They wanted the initiation, but they're going to be initiated upon. Going to be slowing people down with the upheaval, keeping everybody in the death chamber. With Lose Yourself himself, he's got chase on TCG, and the big kill is going to be an MP so far, but I don't think Lose Yourself is done yet. He's charging forward. The Remnant's going so slow, and he's going to have to run himself, but he's got Arcane Rune to make the down the slower. Fine, Dire Straits going to get some more chains inside. Fist going to finish him off too, and maybe Game Start just needs to walk away right now. They wanted a kill onto Godot, but they're getting nothing. They're getting a double kill for Lose Yourself again. In fact, he's not even done. We're going to get a blast coming out from the Godot. We've got the Remnant already in place just to finish off this walk and run away unless we get ourselves through. But no, he's gone. Lord Boons takes the kill. He runs away. Booty Loot gets absolutely nothing. TCG coming in, but we got the blinding light. He's still running. He's got the movement speed. He's got the strength. He's got everything he needs. He even got himself a little bit more mana, so he can just try and TP out if he wants, but he's going to sacrifice himself to create, make a little bit of space, and this is all Oracle all day. Level 1 so far, 4k gold lead, and hey, you put it all in to get the top gold, but you just got Lord Boons out of that, and I bet you wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, that fight looked okay for AGN, but then you got to remember, right, this Cuddle Ember combo I mentioned, if you put the mid Ember, if you put your eggs in the Ember Cuddle basket, like this is one of the strongest game plans you can have right now. Look how far ahead on net worth Lose Yourself is. You can't fight this.
Man, 5,000 gold already, but not even 10 minutes, and he's about to hit 10 minutes. God damn it. Ooh, how do you stop him?
Well,
AGN, you need to...
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Yeah, AGN, they kind of missed the boat on ganking this Ember, I think. Like, they needed to shut down the lane. They couldn't find a good lane matchup for it. And so now that he's farmed up, right, like, he doesn't even have the Slight and the Chains fully leveled. So that combo wasn't as effective as it could have been, but it just got him 3 kills in a row, and I don't know what they do from here.
They're going for Zemstreet. They've got hooks, they've got some control. With Reaper, they get themselves a bad fight at the same point in time. I believe we've got another kill in game this hard, so the kills are even. But Zemstreet, pretty massive himself. He's gone for 40 seconds. A little bit of gold back to Booty and Loot, who's really struggling. I mean, everybody on AGN are currently struggling, and it's not good. And you're talking about in the draft before that, you know, TCG has the ability to build the Orchid, but the timing it's coming, it doesn't seem like it's quick enough. You're going to go actually trade for Dire Straits at the same point in time. Going to trap him in the shards, trap himself in the cogs, but you're going to double jab him and maybe even kill him. Godot's going to finish off. Nope, Blue Self gets him back side fist, no safety, and with the whisk onto everybody, it traps the team, but we drop the goal. We maybe get Boons. No, we're going to get the blinding light on back, and Farnsworth is running, but the Necronomicon's doing its work, draining its mana, doing the damage, and Lose Yourself never left. Sonic Wave to finish him off and put him in his place. And he all cleaned up on AGN with 3 heroes so far. Booty Loot is walking on back. This man does not have a Reaper. He used it on Zemistreet, so now Zemistreet's looking for a little bit of revenge. He takes down Necropost. Oh, Dire Straits TPs in just to miss his hook, and Lose Yourself's not even done. Chained Spirit Vessel, even Illuminate. Clockwork is running and will be basically the sole survivor, but this is looking disastrous for AGN.
Absolutely. We saw some pretty dominant wins last night as well as last week, but this might be the most one-sided game we've seen in the entire season so far. AGN, I mean, they drafted for a particular strategy, but it was very plain to see what they were trying to do, and Oracle, I don't know, they barely had to work to counter it. Does this lifestealer have the impact you expect out of a last pick hero?
No, I can't say it does. It did dodge a few shadow strikes, but the Tusk Queen of Pain combination definitely made up for it. So Farnsworth probably not having a game he expected.
Yeah, I mean, look in that team fight, right? He's your carry hero. Okay, I'm not dunking on Farnsworth here, right? Because look at his net worth compared to his opponents. But his hero just doesn't have the capacity to do anything. I think he auto-attacked the Queen of Pain about one time, and then Cop just blinked backwards and Sonic Waved him. And other than that, he was kited the whole time.
He was dead, instantly dead. He can't even do anything. He can't put a single ability out because Lose Yourself finds and gets himself another DD. He didn't even need a DD, but gave and supplied it for him, and now they're cleaning up. 3 dead, make it 4 games hard walked in, maybe get 1 Shadow Ward onto somebody, but it turns out he doesn't have enough time to put on anybody and dies himself. 4 dead, Farnsworth has been found too. He needs to run. Kelvin's looking forward. I think they know where he is. They can see him. He's trying to hide between the trees, and with a little bit of mercy, he is going to be safe, but he's not farming at all. In fact, the entire team of AGN aren't farming, and Oracle have just invaded their complete side of the map, taking complete control, and Lose Yourself currently has 8,000 net worth at 13 minutes in.
Yeah, for an Ember Spirit, a hero that's, you know, technically kind of vulnerable in the laning phase, depending on what you put against her if you pay attention to it, this is very brutal. The fact that the Cuddle at 13 minutes is already ahead of every core on the enemy team, including Nature's Prophet, is just disgusting.
They're not even done. Just put the Wiz down, put the Sonic Wave down. Booty Loot survives. Booty Loot's the...
Oh no! They leave it for Laboons. I'll leave
the Fighting Light does some damage. Oh man, Lose Yourself does some more damage too. He gets TCG again. I don't even know. TCG was farming. What can you do? Okay, you're AGN here. You've seen your entire team falling apart. You've seen all your heroes to cause that they're not getting any space for farm. Can you even get anything out of the smoke, or are you just left to look for mistakes again?
Do you want the real answer, or do you want the fanciful answer?
Fanciful. Let's go fanciful.
Okay, well, it's very hard to officially completely lose a game of Dota on paper, like mathematically be out of it. We've seen teams come back from like 30k gold, 40k gold, 50k gold before. Even some of the most unlikely scenarios, even some of the highest stakes games with the best teams in the world. You want to bait Oracle into doing something crazy, or you want to pick up an item they totally don't expect.
Oh, the initiation they wanted. Maybe the mistake. The rocket's dropped, but what can they get out of it? The chains. It's chaining them all together. Godot is dead. Booty Loot is sacrificed, but the kills are finally coming. But the kills are going to Chemistry. He's got a double kill and running away from the lifesteal. Open Wounds is going to keep him in place for now, but the man just literally TPs out in front of your face. You get a Tusk, and maybe Lose Yourself gets the entire team. Game is done. I'm pretty sure you're dead. Yes, side effects, but very low. Very low. TCG even lower. If you actually get a Remnant move on forward, the Spirit Vessel is going to take him down and maybe dump because he's not even dead. He's not even going. He's still playing around. He's trying to side of his TCG, but the Spirit Vessel doesn't kill him. So he survives, but Lose Yourself survives as well. He's playing on the wire, but it's not even costing him. He keeps himself a little bit of extra regen. Rocket does nothing. And Hales lives again. They can't kill this Ember Spirit. He just keeps on killing every single member of AGN. He found Chemistry. They found Farnsworth. They found Farnsworth again. He was trying to farm, I don't know, a creep camp or something, but okay. They've lost connection with him. I don't think they care. I don't think really Farnsworth is a factor at all. In fact, Voodoo is trying to hit a couple creeps, and every single time he goes to that particular creep, who's been a bane of his existence for the entire game, he just dies. Godot punches him straight through the roof, and man, it's Oracle's net worth going through the roof as well. 15k gold already, 26-5, 15 minutes in, dire straits. I don't even know what Cockroach can even do this game. He's got some wards on him, he can place it down, but other than that, he's just basically food himself.
Yeah, his hero is like, I mean, he can save his teammates in certain situations, and that's valuable, but right now he really feels like a relic of the strategy they tried to play, where you want to be going aggressive, you want to be looking for fights. Right now, there is no fight AGN are looking for. The best fight they can take is almost something that looks like the last fight, right? It almost went the fanciful way. A lot of single target spells on Oracle's side. They blow all of them on the Necrophos. Poor old Booty Loot's just not doing much this game. And then maybe you can pick up some valuable kills on your lifestealer, get him involved again, but they couldn't quite kill the Ember, and that kind of looks like the story of the game.
Booty Loot's dead again. He got chained, he got killed. Sonic Waves can't finish off Dire Straits, and Game is hard in the back. He's upheavaling his heart out, but it's not saving a single soul. Kelvin, he's just TPing out to survive. Game side's gone fast, but finally arrived. But what does he have? It turns out absolutely nothing. He runs completely back the other way. Oh man.
I love Lifestealer just waddling into the team fight like, hey guys, what's going on here? Oh,
no. He's just slowly back walking outside the door.
Goodbye.
Bye guys.
I'm off to hit some jungle camps
Dire's
now.
top tower is
Oh,
under
the guys in my base.
car.
Yeah. That's not what you want to be, right? Like, this is the enrage carry. He runs at you. He climbs into Blink heroes so he can get forward faster. And unfortunately, AGN have been put so far on the back foot, they're like just fully on their ass now. They're just shoved down and getting ground and pounded by an Oracle team who apparently know no mercy. Look at Lugiasoft's farm. He's accelerating into a Basher next.
Alright, not your classically seen Ember build. The man is changing up just for this game. And having even a look at this. Booty Loot is level 7. He's level 7. Okay, hit level 8, but man, they have been pressuring Booty Loot so hard this game. I don't even know what Necro was even thinking about as he walked into here.
I mean, it's one of those things where you just get outlaned, right? But there are situations where games can go wrong. There's always variables in Dota, and no plan survives contact with the enemy, or blah, blah, blah. If your hero, your core hero, gets forced completely out of lane at level 2, at level 1 rather, level 2 for your opponents, that's a draft issue. You have to go back and look at that and go, how do we make sure this never happens to us again? This is embarrassing.
Dire's bottom tower is
Well,
under
I mean,
attack.
they're trying. Dire Straits was going to get himself an economic on creep, but it turns out he just fed himself to Oracle. Again, I mean, if you are AGN at this point, are we just waiting for the tap out? TCG has been found again. The NP was trying to push out a lane by himself. He's just going to get lassoed and turned on down. He can try and TP out. Can he make it? He's got time and he can do it. No! A Yule Scepter, same from Zemistry, will get himself a kill again. He's got a second TP, he can use it, but nope, Kelvin comes in, tries to steal it, won't steal it, and Zemistry gets himself another. This is going disaster. In fact, Booty Luke is regenning up a little bit to make up the fact he doesn't have any more regen himself. Ghost Shot enhances that magical damage, and Ember's happy to bring it. We're going to put him down. Reaper comes out, doesn't do nothing. Booty Luke, it seems like he's just literally done with this game.
Dire's top tower
Yeah, but you know
is
what?
under
We
attack.
don't know what their comms are like. That's what I said before. I'd love to hear what they're talking about right now, because some teams admittedly take this stuff very hard. Those are going to be the teams that call GG kind of early, and that's not to say that's the wrong mindset, but it's just what your team is like. If these guys, and we know the AGN team have been together for a little while, maybe they're laughing at all of this. They have shown a lot of resilience before. Like they've lost their fair share of games, and they've still come back to make the upsets happen that we know them for. So maybe they're just looking at all of this and going, oh well, we'll play it out. This is effectively more strategy time, right? Like, you know, once this game ends, they have to go into game 2. But while we're sitting around here in kind of junk time at 1% win probability, let's talk about our draft. Let's actually discuss what we think went wrong in the lanes. Yeah, whatever, I got ganked another 6 times on Necropost. We don't care about our stats. What we care about is making sure that we are mentally kind of cleansed of this game, that we know what went wrong, and then when we go to draft for game 2, we are going to set ourselves up to really ambush Oracle. Maybe they're going to be complacent after this game, since they're kind of stomping it so hard.
Oh, there comes LTG again. He's trying to push out the bottom wave. Not trying to really happen. Zemstry is chasing down everybody. He's going to Booty Wood again. He's going to pin him to the cliff and leave him up there. Did he just leave the man? No, he's sleeping out. Not going to happen. Another death onto Booty Loot. Seems like it's Booty Loot's game this season. Every single time Booty Loot exists, somebody wants to kill it.
They really are singling him out, and I wonder whether this is the kind of thing where those players think that maybe Booty Loot, they're like, all right, we know this guy from pubs, he tilts pretty easy, okay, so we're going to gank him. We're going to gank only him, right? Let the Lifesteal farm, who cares? Let the Prophet farm. Let's just kill this Necropost over and over and over and over again and see if it puts him off his game.
I mean, at this point, I don't think tilt makes too much of a difference this game. It's kind of tilt-proof at this point. 22k, 35 kills. We're 20 minutes in. It's been a bloodbath. There's really Oracle getting kill after kill, keeping up tempo on, and Booty Loot a little bit tilted. Might actually give him a little bit more energy going into game 2, maybe.
Like I said, you don't really know. Maybe these players have a better idea if they know Booty Loot personally, but like, you know, the world champion, back-to-back world champion team are famously known for taunting heroes and using dumb sprays in game, right? So you can't dismiss the mental warfare.
Oh, but the rock is dropped, the chains are dropped. Two Sonic Waves going to be trying to drop against Iron Trace, but this is maybe an opening you can use. Farnsworth is getting some regen back. The chains are doing the work. They got themselves one, it's sacrifice two, and Lose Yourself is back to clean on up. Voodoo has survived though, but he walks back into die. GG being gold, and Oracle taking a convincing game one.
Dire's top
Okay, so they
tower
just wanted to get a kill. They finally get a Fatal Bond still on the task, and that's enough for them. They just wanted to bloody the nose a little bit before they tapped out. Or maybe they finished their draft plans for game two. Either way, wow. Oracle just digging the grave and filling it with cement. How did AGN come back from that?
I don't know. I don't know where really the opening is. I mean, the thing we're talking about was drafting. Just mainly fixing up the drafts, but is that even gonna be enough? Because Oracle, they're playing a different game. Everything is so just succinct with them.
Yeah, I mean, look, no one's going to pretend that there isn't a big hurdle for AGN to overcome in terms of perceived skill differential when they enter this matchup, right? Oracle, these are some of the best players in the region, have been for years. They're united as one squad, and we know that cohesion's not an issue because their first couple of weeks, they have been on blistering form, whereas AGN, they are struggling and clawing for every win. So they knew that they were walking in here with a target on their backs and sort of with a tough assignment ahead of them. Game one, they tried to draft something. I mean, it almost harkens back to what I said previously about teams fighting Oracle, where maybe you draft a really narrow, outlandish strat, you try and force some cheese to happen, and maybe if you catch them out, that lets you beat, punch above your weight and beat the top team. Unfortunately, their strategy was kind of telegraphed, and Oracle kind of baited them into it with the draft. The first pick, Ember, invited I guess the push strategy once they decided they weren't committing to trying to control the Ember or to beat Lose Yourself in lane. And then since they'd already second pick Coddle, it was very easy for Oracle to not even go back for defensive heroes, but actually more aggressive heroes of their own. And we saw what happened there. They just completely preempted the push strategy from AGN, shut them down in the lanes immediately, and the game was over in minutes.
Well, it seems like that, but we've got game two coming up, so we're going to find out if AGN throw the left or the right hook, or they bring one hell of an uppercut after this short break. We'll see you in a bit, folks. And we are back off a fantastic game one performance from Team Oracle. They basically completely demolished AGN, and AGN, they're going to be coming to game two a little bit, hurt, a little bit demoralized, maybe. What do you think they need to bring here? What are the little bit of improvements they kind of were lacking in game one?
I mean, you could pick a number of areas from game one. Obviously, Dota games are very rarely lost by one single thing, and that's part of what makes it hard to coordinate, right? If you don't have a team that's really cohesive, everyone has a different idea about what they saw in the game that went wrong, and they're like, that's what we need to change, that's what we need to fix. If you just secured my lane, if you just picked me X hero, if you banned that thing, if we built this item, maybe the game would have turned around. But in reality, things start with the draft, right? That's the most impactful domino. It pushes all the rest over. That game, there wasn't a very long chain of dominoes at all. They reacted in a very almost overcommitted way, but at the same time, undercommitted to the opening of the draft from Oracle, did AGN. And I think that made it very easy for Oracle to exploit them.
Yeah, it seemed like the Ember Spirit was kind of unanswered in the end. I mean, they had picks, they had a strategy, but if you allow the first pick to do so much work, does it just fail as an overall draft?
Yeah, it's weird that you think that Ember Spirit was the first overall pick of the draft and Lifesteal was the overall last pick when you look at the relative counters on each team and the amount of value that each hero ended up providing. Like, setting the players aside, I don't think that you can just say, oh, well, that's how much better Lose Yourself is than Farnsworth. That's just not the case. So here in this draft, I think AGN need to try and not get too far ahead of themselves. If the enemy pick a hero and you don't like it, instead of drafting your whole team around trying to out-strategize that hero, just pick some counters to it. Sure, you can lean too hard into that as well and get counter-picked, but if you just have a couple of heroes that are good against Ember Spirit, you ensure yourselves a little bit against Lose Yourself doing what he did in game one.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you do target one of the, I would say one of the standout support players on AGN, GamesHard, he's not playing his favorite Phoenix again. It just seems to be whenever you verse AGN, you make sure GamesHard cannot play Phoenix, even if he wants to, and I'm sure he does.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the one hand, that's a badge of honor, right? You're forcing the strongest team in the region to respect your signature heroes. And, if enough people on your team have that kind of super strong pick, then you can really make the opponent's drafts difficult. But, you need to have backup heroes. You need to have another hero that's just as strong so that when you get put off your Phoenix, you can go, okay, well, now it's time to bust out my Legion Commander or my Mars or whatever it is, right? Because in that game, unfortunately, if they can just ban Phoenix and ban you out of the game, it's not worth much in terms of winning.
No, because the Warlock, I mean, it kept Lifesteal in the lane a little bit easier, but then again, that's kind of what Lifesteal is designed to do anyway.
Yeah, that Lifestealer pick, I don't know where that came from at the end of the draft. Maybe they were running out of time. I know the Booty Loot really likes to play it. We've seen him play it extremely well in previous seasons, so perhaps they just wanted a comfort hero. That's a strategy that I agree with most of the time. But in that game, it just looked doomed from the start. Such a tough assignment for a melee hero with no real control, just one short-range slow to get onto and to kill these various cores with the amount of crowd control Oracle were packing and didn't even really fit with their supposed sieging, slow-pushing lineup. So maybe AGN think a little bit more, try and conserve your reserve time so that you have more time to think about that final pick of the draft, given that it is so much more important than most of your other picks.
Well, no, they didn't ban Ember. They let Lose Yourself get back as Ember, but I mean, this time they have a better chance to counter it, and I think after game one, you need to counter it at least. Would you say just in your first two picks, shut it down hard, then you can just go from whatever?
That's one approach, yeah. I mean, it's not as though countering Ember is that difficult. I'm not saying you can completely take it out of the game. The hero is just too strong at the moment, and its laning phase is hard to shut down. But if you pick it, if you try and pick your lanes such that your supports are able to rotate, like just try and set yourself up a winning side lane with a support hero who can move onto the Ember and threaten him, or if you just pick support heroes with strong mid-game crowd control spells to stop the Ember running amok, Clop, that's a great idea, and Venge, there you go. So
good saves.
Now you've got flexible lane setups. These could both be cores. These could both be supports. They could go in any lane. And best of all, range heroes, good crowd control spells, good nukes, dangerous to Ember in a number of ways.
Yeah, and this time, what's better? They have a stun.
10 seconds remaining.
Count them, one stun. One stun and counting.
Yeah.
They could even pick more stuns with their last three picks in the draft. Have you considered GTH? More than one stun.
I don't believe that. You just need one stun and that's it. One stun for one kill. After that, everything is just, it's just gold. It's extra.
Yeah. Vengeful Spirit also meaningfully with that minus armor spell. This is the reason why I considered this as a possible carry choice for AGN last game over the Lifestealer, right? Quite a strong pushing hero and can create a positional advantage. If Ember Spirit remnants out of the fight and expects that to save him, he gets swapped back in. Like, they did a good job actually kind of answering the Remnant last game. We saw a couple of fights. The upheaval from the Warlock, if you slow the Ember significantly, it kind of removes the advantage you gain from Remnant as a mobility tool. But this is just as good a counter and works pretty decent on Nature's Prophet as well.
That's true. You can just put your wave on in, get the vision, and you can swap them out every time with TPs. But NP is still pretty popular and flexible. Maybe this is just the Lord Boons hero in, and he can really secure a lane pretty hard.
Yeah, Lord Boons is one of the first names I think of in this region when I see Nature's Prophet. So hard to go past putting it on him, especially when it has shown such chops as a 5-position support on the patch. But I definitely think Oracle are going to put this in whichever lane it ends up being most effective. Everyone on this team can no doubt play it. I'm sure Zemistry plays a mean mid-Nature's Prophet, for instance. Really they can do anything, this squad.
A whole bunch of flexibility, and that's what we know from the game one. There was so much flexibility in their draft as well, and you can just see it in the bans here. They're banning Spectre, which is pretty good against MP and Ember. I mean, maybe that puts more focus on the MP towards being a core, maybe from Team Oracle.
10 seconds.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I think banning the Spectre is more of a reaction to having Quap and Venge. Like, the idea that Quap and Venge, they scale decently in the late game, but they are also quite strong, like, early and mid-game team fighters, and the kind of heroes that you would want to bolster a Spectre lineup to make sure that your team wasn't completely, passive during the time that the Spectre's farming up. So knowing that they might want to try and go late game past those heroes' power spikes with your Ember Spirit, you want to cut off the enemy from picking something that has superior late game, like the Spectre.
Fair enough, and the reserve time being used again from AGN. Last time they used a little bit, maybe too much reserve time, which made the last few picks seem a little bit rushed here, but they're really thinking about this fourth ban here. They haven't really showed much on Team Oracle here, so if you've seen Team Oracle play, do we just want to target the players individually? Okay, and Enigma being taken out. Pretty strong Kelvin here, and with the black hole really does counteract if Quap jumps in or if we're trying to swap here. Okay.
Yeah, also means you have more potential to punish the off lane this way. Enigma's kind of a greedy off laner in that he is vulnerable to getting ganked, you know, no mobility tools, not the tankiest hero. But the way that he constantly denies XP makes it hard for whatever you put in the safe lane to do well. So being able to shut that down means that you have more of a chance to really win the safe lane hard. And if that's their plan, I like that idea. Concentrate on winning one lane and really making sure you get the most out of that is a good strategy compared to, you know, gambling and losing all three as they did in game one. But one thing I want to point out, GTH, Team Oracle have banned Necrophos. After that game and what they did to Booty Loot, they have banned it out. They don't want to play against it a second time.
It was pretty scary. I mean, it freaked me out watching him just die over and over again. But speaking of a hero that keeps heroes from dying, Treant Protector being the third pick. If you're talking about winning lanes, games on Treant Protector, it's a very good way of going about it. And Team Oracle's answer is just going to be picking up a Jakiro.
Yeah, well, okay, we're kind of maneuvering both teams now towards teamfight-based Dota, just a clash of spells and ultimates and AoE abilities, and we'll see who comes out on top, which I like that style of game for AGN more than I like their Game 1 plan. Right now, the heroes do seem to have an edge for it. Jakiro used to be a great counter to Treant, but now that Living Armor is not charge-based, it just sort of like buffs a tower up. It's going to be a good way to defend against the push from all of these heroes. Still a strong pushing threat coming out from Oracle, but AGN aren't without defenses, right? Like all of these heroes do have okay creep clear, so interesting that Oracle are just kind of forging forward with that strategy.
Yeah, it does kind of show a little bit more now because Jakiro traditionally played as position 5 here, so unless you're really feeling about playing the position 4, which I would say isn't too popular, it's looking like a position 3 or 2 Nature's Prophet here.
I wouldn't doubt Team Oracle's ability to pounce if AGN pick a kind of vulnerable safe laner and play core Jakiro. We've seen a few different teams play it, and the hero, this is the funny thing about Jakiro, right? It's such a rock-solid pick. It's very, very strong at fighting and trading in the lane, and often people take it as a support just because it is so strong without any help. But the hero farms very fast. Multiple nukes, burns down creeps, very efficient damage dealing. You can buy a lot of items that make Jakiro a really terrifying teamfight hero as well as a great pusher. So that could be their play. I'm not sure it's better than core Nature's, but something to keep in mind before you go overboard trying to counter Nature's Prophet in lane.
And speaking of hero that doesn't exactly get countered too hard, right now we're going back to safe. We're keeping it nice and straightforward here. Juggernaut getting picked up as position 1 for AGN. So AGN, they're getting more of a traditional draft going here.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a weak lane, but Juggernaut does lack a really ideal lane partner here, if indeed he is a side lane hero. Both Treant Protector and Vengeful Spirit are kind of short in their effective range or their engagement range. Neither of them have terrific disables, I would say. Venge's stun is quite short. It's almost more of a nuke than a stun. And so you're not going to have the ideal setup that you want for a spin that you get from, a Lich with Ice Armor or CM Freeze, longer disables like that. Templar picked up.
Yeah, that is bold because if I remember correctly, Queen of Pain's a pretty good matchup against a TA.
Maybe they're kind of calling the bluff here and they assume it's not going to be the mid-quap with this draft.
Man, that is one bluff call. But then again, TA, we've seen TA's attempt to be countered, and then they still just go back to jungle, farm up a massive amount of items. Then when it's 16 minutes, it's what? Blink, Desolator, BKB, and the game is just literally done.
Yeah, it's one of those heroes, any hero in mid that can shove the lanes out as fast as Templar can, and more importantly, Templar on top of that has the ability to take even ancient stacks with ease early in the game. I think that's definitely why they've picked the hero here. I think the Zemistry is confident he's not going to get blown out in the lane, and then, yeah, as you said, fall back to the stacks, and once you factor that in, that TA is going to have pretty much guaranteed a certain reliable timing for Blink Deso, the BKB shortly afterwards. You look at the other heroes on the team, and with the possible question mark over Ember, depending on build, Oracle are looking very strong around that sort of 16 to 20 minute mark.
to kind of like you got different heroes here, but it seems like game one they have a power spike. It's looking big for all their core heroes, and when they sync together, can AGN deal with it though? Treant Protector is very good at defending towers, but if they have such a farm advantage and such a big power spike, is it going to be enough?
Well, one thing that I like here, Treant Protector's tower defending really is dependent on how good your team is at defending towers, because what Treant does is he stops towers kind of falling down by themselves, right? If your creep wave is hitting your tower because your carry hero is jungling, or because there's something creep skipping, or what have you, Treant can slow down that tower falling. If 5 heroes roll up on your tier 1, it doesn't matter what level of living armor you have, right? The tower is getting bulldozed. So your team need to be able to throw Oracle back from the tower so that Treant can heal it back up, and then potentially you can waste their time push after push after push. Their lineup is capable of doing that. I think Treant Protector safe lane with the Juggernaut does have potential. It might not be the strongest lane, but it's very hard to kill the Juggernaut because Treant can always counter-initiate with Nature's Grasp, and Juggernaut can spin, so he has the ability to protect himself. And then you got to consider the possibility of a Quap Venge off lane, possibly, which could be very detrimental to an Ember Spirit if that's where he's hanging out.
Yeah, some good pressure coming out. We do have the final pick from Team Oracle coming up on here. We do have, what, Jakiro, Nature Prophet, Ember, Templar, so we got to decide where these lanes are going. They don't have the best initiation, really, here, so I'm looking for a playmaker. Actually, don't worry about it, because it's going to be shown up here. It's the Beastmaster. So who's the support here? Is it support Beast, or is it support Prophet?
The support's going to be Prophet and Jakiro. This is going to be a core Beastmaster for sure. They were banning melee offlane. Look at the carry bans, right? Banning Spectre and Monkey. They were going to pick a melee offlaner that they don't want run out of lane by these heroes with very powerful on-hit passives. So, I mean, AGN could still pick up something like a Slark and try to zone the Beastmaster that way, right? There's a couple more heroes in that vein, but that's what tells me this Beastmaster is looking like a core hero. Also, you ideally want to get levels in the Beastmaster because this is just looking like a very classic for this patch or a pushing lineup. About the only thing that doesn't line up there, okay, they go with the Viper. So it is going to be an offlane pop, I imagine.
Well, yeah, it seems like a TCG going back on his classic. The man knows how to play the Viper, so he's going to be bringing in the mid lane. But then again, we got the 5 picks up here. Team Oracle seem to have a pretty good idea how they want to play the game. AGN looking a little bit reactionary, but who do you think's got a better draft in game 2 here?
I don't know about better draft overall. These 2 drafts are just kind of quite safe. I like AGN's draft vastly better relative to game 1, though. Like, this looks like at game 1, I think they just got caught up on an idea and then realized too late in their draft they'd painted themselves into a corner. This looks much more like the AGN drafts that I'm normally admiring, right? They have heroes that are reacting well to what their enemy's picking. Their lanes look strong. They have chances to win really every lane, I think. And they have heroes that scale well as kind of be strong when the enemy hits their timing. Now we'll see, can Team Oracle pull off what AGN were unable to do in game 1 with the timing push?
That is Ryan taking a game with the big champs himself, because Team Oracle, they're looking really strong. So if you have a good draft and you have good players, it's really a massive hill for AGM to climb. But they're back on their comfort picks. Game Science on the stream protector. Dice Race played fantastic. Vengeful Spirit. Booty Loot, who we do know plays Quap. And when he's able to make a play-making hero, maybe not Necrophos, maybe not DP, but like a Quap, the man can perform well in this one. I'm feeling like Booty Loot's going to bring this game. I think AGN have got this game.
Okay, I think they've got a shot. I'm not going to go that far. Game 1 still fresh in the minds, but like you said, put Booty Loot on a more active hero, a hero where he has a bit more agency. You know, he can blink out of ganks and stuff. He's potentially got the strong lane matchup. Use that fire from game 1, that stinging loss, and run it right back up against Oracle, the strongest team potentially in the land here in the LPL Pro League.
That's right. And speaking of fire, I'd like to thank another one of our sponsors for bringing the fire of this season of LPL, Vodafone, a fantastic mobile provider that everyone likes to use. I love to use it, never drop a call. I'd like to thank them for sponsoring this season of LPL.
And equally so, just as the Treant is going to be defending the towers, we have the New Zealand Defence Force, who are always defending the safety of the public. And if you want to help them out, they are recruiting for all roles across Army, Navy, and Air Force. You can go and visit defencecareers.mil.nz for more information on that. Thanks again to all of our LPL sponsors.
always a big frame, bringing a great production that we're seeing right now. In fact, these lanes that we're seeing right now, they're looking a little bit better. Yeah, Dire Straits on a position for Vengeful Spirit, much better than the clockwork we saw in game 1. This man's able to actually secure farm for his offlaner.
Beastmaster.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I said it when the clockwork was picked. It's a real sink or swim hero. It sank to the bottom of the ocean in game 1, so now we're back to something more reliable. There's going to be more of a chance to play yourself into the game. You don't have that like unassailable lane matchup. I like this a lot better from AGN, like I said.
Well, runes are coming up 50 seconds ago. Looks like we're playing a little bit aggressive on both sides. Lose yourselves there with Lord Boons on Chikiro, going up against Booty Loot and Dire Straits for the top in here. Bottom lane, Beastmaster already got vision with the Hawk, so they can see exactly what AGN are trying to do. But who's actually going to get the runes here? We do have a stun, but there's 2 heroes, so one of them's going to be able to pick up the runes. So, hey, a little bit of an even trade. Maybe no 3 runes going straight to Oracle to start it off already. Maybe not the biggest gold lead in the world, but it might be indicative to how this game is going to go.
Really freaking.
And AGN, look, they've already put out 4 bounties on the Oracle heroes using the bounty feature. So, of course, just before we alarm everybody, that is not going to affect the outcome of the match. It's a purely cosmetic feature, but gives you a hint that the morale didn't take too much of a hit in game 1. They're out for blood here. They're still here to compete, as if the draft didn't tip you off.
Oh, yeah.
And can they shut down Lucius off this time? This is my biggest question here.
Well, the one difference here is it's safe lane. And with Spirit, he's not going to have as fast of a time. He's not going to get all the levels and the XP that he had in the mid lane. And, you know, Lord Bones, he's trying to pressure up both these heroes, but they're a little bit better. Maybe with Sleight of Fist there, but you don't have as much control to shut down this Queen of Pain adventure that you probably want to.
Yeah, the top lane actually looks kind of even for me. I'm not sure who comes out ahead in the long run. Obviously, Lord Boons is a very strong and aggressive support player. Going to be utilizing the power of Jakiro's Dual Breath. It's very spammable, does great damage, very strong slow. It's hard to all in against that at level 1. And then as you level up, of course, you can grab points in the Liquid Fire, which complements that with the consistent harass. So Jakiro's kind of the total laning package. And Ember Spirit No Slouch either has the Flame Guard that kind of negates the normal dominant power of the Quops damage over time spell. I think a lot is resting on Dire Straits and how he skills and how much harassment he can get in on Hales alongside Booty Loot, right? You have to use that 2 range hero to 1 advantage.
No, one turn leaves out, doesn't do too much, but speaking of unit gaming, we've got a Beastmaster and a Nature Prophet in the bottom lane. They can summon so many creatures and take your tower down. So far as Kelvin right now, he's got 2 balls. We've got Godot in the back with just 2 Treants chasing around the Treant Protector. This lane looks like it's just designed to put the pressure on.
Yeah, and one interesting factor to consider, right, is that normally Juggernaut is a hero that's quite good at dealing with this kind of lane pressure. We saw, I think last night, a safe lane Morphling get completely squeezed out of lane by Tekor's Venomancer and just whittle away the health and whittle away the health and whittle away the health until eventually you inevitably die. There's sort of no chance to avoid your fate. Juggernaut has a healing ward, which is the most potent, like, overtime healing spell in Dota 2, but because it's a ward, it has to be kept alive. If it's auto-attacked, you know, you don't get any effect from that spell. And the Beastmaster balls, especially being ranged summons, are capable of running under the tower, killing that healing ward, stopping Juggernaut from hanging out in the lane like he normally would. So I'm interested to see how they play this. Maybe you just have to start spinning the creep wave whenever it gets too bad.
Maybe, and the fortunate thing about Treant Protector is he's great at zoning out offlane. It's just like solo target. It does a whole bunch of damage to one hero, but he's got to deal with what? 2 boars, 2 Treants, and an NP and a Beastmaster himself. Is a Treant enough to make the lane safe for Jug?
I think you can be. I think you just got to kind of, you know, muster up your courage and take some trades as the Treant, right? The thing that you have to your advantage, Treant has a passive skill that's always available. Starting from level 1, you don't need to put points in it. You can weave in and out of the trees easily. Taking damage does impede that, but it's still easy enough, given the amount of trees in the safe lane, to hang out and only emerge when you can take these trades. So I think Game is Hard is going to be able to do it if he commits himself.
Oh, good control out. Kelvin is having a pretty good time farming in this bottom lane. Looks like class hits are roughly even between them. Zemetry is getting pressured up by the Viper, though, in the mid lane, but every single time Zemetry gets pressured up, he comes back... Sorry, he goes back and just farms Jump Grease, but they're going to be trying to farm Lord Boons in top lane and farm Booty Loot himself, but he just blinks away into safety, so no kill here. This is the way Booty Loot survives. He has an escape mechanic, so all the pressure you try to put on him, it might not pay off here. In fact, they're pressuring Lose Yourself right now. They've got the dagger. He did not dodge it, and now they're just going to be right-clicking him down. Hit enough damage. They could deny him if it does get too low, but they're chasing. They want it. They've got the dual breath. The stun is going to be dodged, but Booty Loot jumps, but he's going to be chained. The first blood is drawn by Lord Boons, taking down Dire Straits, but they do have the illusion. Maybe they get a little bit of pressure coming out. Dire Straits does want himself a self, but he will not get himself a self, but maybe Bootaloo gets himself Lord Boons as well. The attack speed slow is real, the one charger paying off, but no! It's a double kill for Jakiro himself. Man, that just turned from a great move to a disaster. Oracle feeling great out of that exchange.
Yeah, that's a heartbreak for AGN. That was not like a bad move from them at all, and I agree with you. I think they saw the Shadow Strike connect with the Ember, and they maybe didn't expect that to happen, right? You can always dodge it with the Slight, so they went on that opportunity. Unfortunately, things not quite working out. Took them a second or two to get into range. They took a bit more damage just lining up that Vengeful Spirit stun, the extremely short range of the Magic Missile playing against them. And then when it did come out, the clock blinks straight away and blinks into the chains from Ember, right? Like, that is such a problem. I think that may have even prevented the kill, because otherwise you could have followed up with more auto attacks. And, you know, then you end up losing 2 heroes for it. Your Venge dies in the equation. Now this lane is looking rough, right? Although, sometimes you get the wrong idea, right? Even if you're losing trades in the lane, as long as you are stopping... Oh, they go on Boons.
Time for it. He's half HP, but damage isn't going down too fast. In fact, the turning of Dual Breath is adding up. The chains are going to be there, holding down Bootaloo, and he blinked on in. He blinked in to get the kill, and the kill isn't coming. Lord Boon's very low. The Sun might be finishing off one more hit from Dire Straits. Okay, Dual Breath to finish off. Bootaloo does survive just barely and lose yourself. Can he clean up their man fighting between these two guys? But one's a support, one's a core, one's had last hits, and one hasn't. But with a stun, with the Wave of Terror, with the one charge coming out, they might be able to bait it again. He doesn't dodge the dagger. He takes it to the face. Lose yourself gets one, but Bootaloo, look at the take, and he puts the flame gun on dodge the magic. Both die. Bootaloo goes down. Lose yourself gets traded, but my man, that is to the wire.
I think Lose Yourself probably breathes a sigh of relief and is kind of okay. He got the double there. That's a lot of gold. Even though you die and lose some of it, like you at least get those kills, and he is getting XP in the lane. But ultimately, you got to consider that all of this brutal trading is happening in the safe lane for Oracle, right? This Ember is their 1 position. The Quap is the 3 position for AGN. So if neither of these heroes are really farming efficiently because they are constantly trading, burning all of each other's resources, going back to fountain and back to lane, that is a win for AGN, even if they come out theoretically slightly behind.
Oh, right now, the top 3 networks are basically Oracle. TA, who hasn't been in the lane too much, literally just went to jungle to farm a whole bunch of stacks, and currently is top net worth against the Viper, which is probably not what you want to see out of a matchup.
No, but Farnsworth is ahead of the Ember Spirit as a result of the clashes at top, and the Quap is only a few hundred gold behind Ember and Beastmaster. Given Quap's ability to farm, I think that you're okay with how these lanes are going. Maybe you want the mid to be going a little bit better, but, I mean, again, it's Zemistry. We've said a lot of words about his laning potential.
He's just chasing down. He's gonna get himself the Refractor. Side blades cut, and they cut hard. Ooh, TCG just going down 20 seconds without farming, and Zemistry is just going to accelerate his gold lead even more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're a little bit desperate to try and overcommit on the TA because you want to stop her from doing this dual farm where she's nuking the wave out and then also dropping back and picking up farm in the jungle. But we just saw a hint of how Oracle can punish that move, bringing in not only the Jakiro who picked up a haste rune, that's a bit lucky, but then Nature's Prophet teleporting across the map wasn't required there, but you have to be aware of the threat at any time.
Oh yeah, you do. It seems like it's going to be a massive threat, but I mean, this bottom lane is going pretty good. Like, Farnsworth is farming up pretty well. Zemistry is, I mean, he died there, but he's still getting the golden XP to make these rotations. AGN have things that can, you know, make work. They can make an early time damage. Do you expect early rotations to come out of them?
Not out of Farnsworth. The Juggernaut hero definitely wants to build a few more items, and I mean, look, he can rotate, he can fight if they feel there's something really important happening. If Oracle try and force an early Roche or something with like a Deso TA is diving, you're gonna kill 5 heroes. Maybe you bring in the Juggernaut and go for some Omni kills, but ideally, you just want to abuse his great stats, farm the jungle up, get a couple of items ahead before you start committing and potentially dying.
So, Games Aren't almost died, but Farnsworth got the spin to actually keep him safe, but now they're just going to be running him down. The ball's coming, the Sprouts is there. Does he Quelling Blade? 1 second away from cutting down another tree, but they do have the living armor, they do have the war, but Godop tries to take it out. I think he did get it too, so Juggernaut pretty low on regen, but lose yourself being chased down by Bootaloo again. The pressure is on in both these lanes. Every single lane is not going to get at least safe farming itself, but it's still a 2k gold lead to Oracle. Mainly that lead is probably just coming from the TA there, the safe timing, and what actually first item do you want to see from this TA here? Do you want to see the Blink or do you want to see the Desolator?
I'm not a TA expert, but in my experience, the Desolator is the item you buy when you are concentrating on farming and outscaling the enemy heroes, and the Blink is the item you buy when your team needs you to force the tempo. And obviously, no matter which one you get, you're hoping to pick the other one up a few minutes later, so it becomes academic, but it is a real decision in this game. I think we're probably going to see the Deso. Like this Ember Spirit is suffering a little in the top lane, and so your team isn't particularly dynamic besides this Nature's Prophet. You may as well take a little bit more time to get that damage item up and then get the Blink and then go.
Going straight for Dice Raids, got up with the rotation. TP's coming in from TCG, forces them back, but we're actually going to get the poison coming out to slow down the end. Prophet and Bootaloo got a TP in, give him the version. So the kill turns back the other way, the rotation fails from Oracle, given an opportunity for AGN to get some gold and maybe get some more pressure on to lose yourself. So they're feeling pretty good after that rotation. A little bit of gold.
Yeah, I mean,
always able to take.
Look already at how different this is to game one, right? We talked about the efforts, Bootaloo dying so much in game one, how it might affect him, how it might affect his mentality, the whole team. Nope. Game two, they bounce back. They're taking advantage of, they're forcing mistakes out of Oracle and capitalizing on them. Bootaloo is bullying Lose Yourself, the complete opposite of last game. Obviously hasn't gotten quite full revenge for what happened, but really making the man's life hard in lane, and this is the resilience of AGN. They have 2 of the top 3 net worths now.
That is true. It's grown quite a bit, but the pushing can start because the ball's coming out, the phase boot's coming, and maybe, would you say Necronomicon coming out from the Beastmaster after, or would you prefer maybe help with a Dominator just to help every single hero on your team push?
No, I think you just go in the Necronomicon, at least until we see the next patch in Dota. That's going to be the first item for just about every single offlaner, unless you desperately need them to buy a Blink, and even then,
That Gemsar's found. He got hit by 3 heroes, but TCG is looking to get some revenge in the end of it. Poison's gone to Zemistry, but the Raw is coming from Kelvin, and that's going to turn it, because Zemistry was baiting the entire time. He turned back around, finds the Viper, cleans up the Viper, gets some double fast up. He's trying to get some kill in return to finish up the World Moon, so maybe get Kira. Bootaloo coming into Sonic Wave, but it's refracted. It's dodged. Zemistry does get himself hit by the Shadow Strike, but is it going to be enough to turn the kill? No, Bootaloo will be dead. Farnsworth will be able to clean it up at least, but now he's being charged down himself. Kelvin, with the help of the balls, with the help of Godot on the NP, going to take, but the spin turn back. It was the bait up to lifetime. Getting maybe the double here. Sprouts don't keep the tree and out and give the kills back to AGN. What a play.
I'm standing up and clapping in my room, GTH. That was very well played by Farnsworth and AGN in general, although he teleports in to Lose Yourself. Please don't die here. That would be such an embarrassment.
It's all good.
Okay,
it's all good.
okay.
It's fine.
He recovered. He's all right. He's all right. But wow, that was so tight. Farnsworth had a really tough assignment that game. That fight, he was running in with an Omni Slash, and if you've played Juggernaut. Oh, hang on. Surely not.
Is it? No. He's feeling good. He's having a good game, man. This guy
he threw the remnant right there. That is not far away. There's 3 heroes at top. They're going for him.
Chase him down. Yeah, but he doesn't throw it. Should be alright. It looks like he's baiting it. He's literally baiting it.
Baiting for
we're gonna
what?
put the ult on him. Maybe turn him because the bottom lane's being pushed on it. We're taking a tier 1 tower bottom. Lose Yourself is making space there, and Game Star's dead. Tier 1 tower's gonna be pressured, so it was just space for the push. Oracle knew what was happening the entire time.
That being said, AGN didn't waste the heroes rotation. They're going to stick around this top lane and likely push the tier 1 tower in return for some sort of response out of Oracle. So, good play by Lose Yourself, but, not a disaster for AGN by any means. He comes right back into the...
Comes back to get the ward. Oh, my man, that is greed. That is greed you want to see, but it doesn't cost him a thing. He just walks away. Venge could not get the stun onto him, so this tower push isn't gonna pay off. The creeps are gone. Lose Yourself has defended. They got a tier 1 themselves. It looks like NP's happily pushing down the bottom lane, and with a rotation mid between Kelvin and Lord Boons, they're gonna get TCG as well. The Raw, the Axes, the Burn. Another kill for Oracle. 8-11, the 3k gold lead to them, and they're just pushing more towers after more towers. This global presence of the MP, but maybe they can Lose Yourself. Okay, the sun does land. You can't dodge it forever, but you can dodge the Sonic Wave instead. Much better. Swamp dodges the Scream of Pain and maybe saves Lose Yourself. No. Okay, we're gonna spin, we're gonna cut him down and finally take down the Emperor himself. It took a lot of work, but it finally got there, but it cost you big. A mid-tier 1, your Viper, presence across the map, and now they're going straight into Roach.
Yeah, they saw that Queen of Pain Sonic Wave thrown out there. I mean, you could argue it assisted in the kill by forcing the spells out of Ember, but now it's not available, and they don't have any big teamfight ultimates apart from Treant to try and defend this Roshan, which they appear to not even know is going on. This is... maybe they were too focused. That bait shot from Lose Yourself did such an effective work, because I really would have thought that normally AGN could avoid that Viper gank on mid. Like, that was a pretty straightforward rotation from bottom, and now the Roshan.
Yeah, seems like they just are focusing on one thing, and maybe Zemstry is focusing on just getting kills on everybody. Dice Raid stuns him, and in revenge, he destroys him. Revenge is gone, Whoops comes out, and oh man, TA is feeling strong. He got the Desolator first, so that anti-armor is really coming into effect.
Yeah, exactly. And as you see, the Desolator already a farming item halfway towards your Blink Dagger, so it's not going to be too much longer that Zemistry is missing the other half of his core kit. And right now with the Aegis, you don't need the mobility quite as much anyway, right? By far the strongest hero on the map and just bullying these tier 1s all that minus armor. But that's not the end of the world for AGN, right? This is just kind of TA stuff.
Oh yeah. You expect them to do this with this power spike, but the thing is, what does AGN do with this timing before they really get pressured, before they really have to respond? Juggernaut is still farming. What item does he need? Because I don't think he's going to have another 10 minutes to build something massive here.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely what they were threatening to do, right? By successfully defending the Juggernaut in safe lane, you give yourself a game piece to trade against their 5-man push from Oracle. You say, well, our Juggernaut will be farming the other half of the map whenever you push, and he'll inevitably become a problem. So,
Right, TP. Be good, but with tipping it's Zemistry to walk at you. Okay, good rotation in. Bootyloop might die for this, but he can always blink and Sonic Wave to safety. Okay, as long as he survives, I mean, it saves the day, but that is one big cooldown.
yeah, I mean, this Quap is definitely using the Sonic Wave quite freely, and it isn't the longest cooldown in the world, so since they're not really team fighting much anyway, you maybe don't need it. This is going to be a green light for Oracle to push the tier 2, though, and in answer to your earlier question, I think Farnsworth has to respect the amount of summons on Oracle, right? It's going to be very difficult to get an effective Omni/Off unless you build either a Battle Fury or a Mjolnir to try and clear away those creep waves. I mean, for one, it's good just to clear them, but two, you need to destroy the summons as soon as possible and splash that damage onto the heroes.
Oh, looks like they're splashing damage onto the towers again. Another tier 2 full. Another creep wave is cut. In fact, Kelvin is already in the mid lane to push another tier 2. The pushing is just not going to be stopped. In fact, they're going high ground. It's only 15 minutes in. They've got the creep waves, they've got the Treant, they've got the MP, they've got the Desolator, and a tier 3 is only going to be defended by Living Armor. Breloop's going to be chained down, Ice Path down. The Romans just go on in. They found their opening. It will kill Avenge. At least Breloop does get out, but it's TCG in the back. He's found Kelvin. He's got Kelvin. The big kill they need on the Beastmaster. TA's trying to run away. Doesn't have a refract, and the poison is adding up. Viper is proven to be a difference here, but maybe they can get the pressure on him. They've got the chains, but what's the follow through here? Okay, you Sprout the big man back, but as soon as the Sprouts go down, he can move forward. But the main point here is AGN have defended their high ground, and with Treant Protector, it's like you were never there in the first place.
Yeah, those are some intense scenes, right? Even with a Treant on your side, the line between acceptable compromises in terms of giving up towers and, you know, past the tipping point is very thin. And by giving up the tier 2, I think AGN are already kind of taking a bigger risk than maybe they wanted to, but at least they are able to defend their high ground there. Even after some of their heroes get rooted by Ember Spirit, my heart was in my throat for a minute. They could have lost.
Oh, it was a big 7-point, but AGN proved it. They know what they're doing. Farnsworth, he just bait himself in, but he can spin on back to safety. So they're really kind of the wise hit, but I think that's kind of what they need to do against Oracle. I don't think there's too many openings that Oracle are going to give to them just on the platter, so they need to force these openings themselves.
Yeah, I think what they just need to do is what they're doing right now here. Use your Treant's AoE, use your Viper's AoE. Obviously, it's tricky to try and do this without getting caught, but their heroes, they just showed, do deserve some respect by defending their high ground. So they're using all of the spells in their power to slow down the tower push, at least make these mid-tier 2s cost something. And Farnsworth is hitting creeps like he should.
Hell yeah, Fuse Blade is coming on up. We've got the Medallion coming up to amp that damage up. So AGN, the pieces are slowly coming together. It's only 5k gold lead at 17 minutes. Last game, it was way worse than this. So AGN, they're playing much better. They're much more comfortable. Zemistry isn't just snowballing. Lose Yourself is not snowballing. Unless Farnsworth does get caught out here, the ward's going to get the vision, but he could maybe try and spin TP. I don't think Juggernaut's going to die here, but they're doing much better at controlling Oracle's snowball, at least.
Yeah, look, I respect Farnsworth trying to play it a little bit more careful there, because if you just spin TP in front of a Templar Assassin with Meld and Desolator and she has any help at all, you die. Like, she will kill you through your magic immunity with just auto attacks. So, you know, as the core in the enemy team, Farnsworth, it's his duty to take care with his own life. But now he's just here trading with Lose Yourself.
Yeah. He got spin, good. don't worry about it. He's baiting gun, quick wave back, and just messing with Luke yourself here. He knows he has the gold advantage, but the ward, okay, he's going to feed that back to him, and now they're just going to go in and play around. Swap's going to keep him to safety. Bootaloo's going to come in and just bait him out in the end. Done is good. Force stuff is awkward, but Sonic Wave, it's not enough. He's going to tick on down. Flame Guard can only dodge so much damage, and I think he's going to live, but Juggernaut here will almost be sacrificed. The roar from Kelvin saved Boons, and now Farnsworth gets nothing but a sacrifice to his bench, swapping Matt to safety. The Sleight of Fist will not be able to get him, but they will get Zemistry in response. The big kill they needed. Zemistry isolated in the mid lane. The Aegis doesn't mean much. The tips are coming. AGN got the big kill, but maybe they get a return kill in response. Bootyloo getting chained to the ground and put in his grave. Another kill for Oracle, and TCG going a little bit too far forward. They can't kill him, but if he goes too far forward again like Zemistry, he may have a gold advantage, but he'll just be feeding that back into Oracle.
That's the second push in a row that Bootyloo's gotten caught by steering chains on the quap. It really shouldn't be happening, especially on the low ground. You have to be more careful with your positioning there, but wow, that Zemistry kill, that was a game changer. I was really worried for AGN for a moment there, but getting that kill on the enemy TA actually means you come out ahead of the situation. She is by far the richest hero on the map, and to be able to bring her down without costing you any heroes is a massive, massive win, even though, God, have you seen a more valuable 4-star forward as that one from Lord Boons right there?
The unexpected
how much...
4-star.
These are three, let them be.
Yeah, you don't think of it as a defensive ability, but it shows how much Dota is a game of margins. It forced the Juggernaut to turn 90 degrees in order to cast Omni Slash on the stunned Ember Spirit, which would be 100% a kill. And instead, he just didn't get it off in time, and suddenly they're overcommitted and they lose heroes. Like, that's all it takes.
Yeah, 2,250 gold. It pays off in dividends. Rune's going up though. 20 minutes coming in. No outpost claimed by AGN. I don't think they really care as long as they have a little bit more time in the game. Roche is going to come back to respawn. The space is going to be theirs. Farnsworth is farming. In fact, he's pressuring up the claim, maybe the top rune here. So AGN, they do have an opening. Game Designs is proving it right now. He's comfortable enough to go into the river. I'm really kind of liking how AGN are just playing the response to this. They know they're not in the greatest situation in the world, but they're not folding, they're not making mistakes, and they're not taking fights that they don't need to take.
Yeah, and look, I hesitate to say that the game's going well when you're 7,000 gold behind against the best team in the region, but certainly it's following a narrative that to AGN, they must feel like there is some hope for them, right? The game is going sort of according to plan. That's because, like, you've been put in a position that's familiar to every Dota player. The enemy team are going to push you. Your job is to not die, right? That's actually kind of clarifying when it comes to strategy. Just don't go too far out of your base. Don't overcommit to farming. And because Oracle is so bunched up together, look at the farm relative to where it was several minutes ago, right? Like, Lose Yourself was having a pretty solid game on the Ember despite that disruption in the lane. Not gangbusters like it was last time, but now well behind the Juggernaut and even the Viper.
Yeah, the gold lead is great on your cause, and the cause you wanted on your Juggernaut, your Viper, the Playmakers. Co-op probably doesn't need too much farm when you still have the Sonic Wave, the Shadow Strike, a whole bunch of magical bursts. That doesn't really require it. So Bootyloo doesn't even need priority. His AGN are happily dividing the farm that they're getting, and I don't know. Oracle, if they leave this going as it is, do they leave an opening for AGN just to take this game back?
Absolutely. This is the classic compromise, the classic tension between a pushing lineup and, I guess, an enemy team who are defending a push and committing to the late game. That gap that's opened up between the two cores of AGN and the non-Templar Assassin cores of Oracle's Lord Boons just...
He's gone. He's
just dead
for it, and I think Zemistry wants it, but Bootyloo's dead in the bottom lane as well, so they've got a kill, they've got a roll, they've got a destruction, and Dire Straits will make it a double. In fact, TCG is now isolated by himself forward. In fact, Lose Yourself doesn't have chains. It's the only thing keeping him alive at this point, but maybe a little bit of an overcommitment there. Not as clean of a kill that I wanted, but still, you got another kill on Juggernaut, who helps him push, helps him clear out the waves, and that is more space for your Viper and your Juggernaut.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need 5 heroes alive to farm the map as AGN, but Oracle do sort of need all of their heroes available to try and push high ground. So the trades like that do kind of favor AGN in a way, and Farnsworth continues to scale upwards, right? That gap, like I said, that's opening, that's the cost of those early towers. Oracle didn't get those for free, even with their super farm Templar Assassin. It cost them space for the Juggernaut, and Farnsworth has done a great disciplined job of not coming to fights unnecessarily, not risking his life and his farm, and just trusting his team can hold the line. Like they did in that defense on the high ground. They got the Beastmaster kill, or picking off Zemistry before. Like, those are the game-changing moments that stop the Oracle push and lead them now to a situation where they can see a way forward.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting build from TCG, who's currently getting a little bit of visual on the Kelvin trying to chase now, but Beastmaster moves a little bit faster than expected, but he's gone Blade Mail, Crimson Gun, very much building towards what he needs this game.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you love to see, right? Especially in a hero like Viper, like TA, right? You're going to see Blink Deso every single game. There's just, those items work so well with the hero, and the hero has such a proactive game plan. She seizes control of the game, makes it happen on her terms. Those are just the right items to build. Something like Viper, you do want to be reactive. You need to buy not only the right defensive items for the opponent's damage, but the items that reflect the situation your team is in the game. And critically, Crimson Guard also protects your towers, so it makes it even harder for Oracle to bust up your high ground, which is really like their only goal at this point.
In fact, one of the main goals from Oracle right now is this Roche. Everybody's just hanging in it. They've got a billion trees just surrounding its spawning point. They want it so bad. But AGN, they don't exactly care. They just push down the lane, and there you go. Roche is gonna spawn and instantly die. To Oracle, giving them the opportunity that they wanted. They needed 2 lives. They needed something extra to push this high ground. And what, 2 lives in TA? That might just do it.
Absolutely. This is going to be Oracle's best chance, maybe for the entire game, this next push with the Aegis, whenever they decide to really commit with it. But at the same time, like, even though I'm normally a fierce proponent for taking your chances and maybe fighting at Roche before the enemy has Aegis if it's going to be too much for you, this is not the time to do that. Look how fast Oracle killed that. Look how strong their teamfight spells are. AGN, they knew that was going to happen at some point in the game. They were just committed to defending the tower. They didn't waste time just having a support standing near the pit to maybe give away a free kill on top of the Roshan. They're taking as much as they can off the map in preparation, and now we're going to see the game turn on this fight.
They are charging forward. You're going to get yourself a Hawk, but you might lose yourself your life. Okay, there's an item on the ground. The ref band is there, baiting it now. TCG wants you to take, but nobody's going to take it because it's taking your tier 3 down at the same time. Zemistry focusing it down. Lose yourself going back. Only get the poison onto Zemistry for so far, but he does have a BKB himself, so he's baiting it out with a second life. So it's slow, but it's for sure. You're burning down the Macrophile, so Game Inside can't actually initiate as well. Fantastic play from Wall of Boons, but you are kicking back Oracle back for now. The runes have spawned, so they're just going to go back for them and give a little bit of space for AGN, which Farnsworth is taking perfect advantage of, just farming that bottom lane so hard.
Yeah, one thing that I think might not be truly obvious, a bit that makes a huge difference in how this game is looking going forward and what Oracle have to do, is the ward vision, right? Look at the Radiant jungle. Despite Oracle being the aggressor in this match, they haven't completely throttled the AGN team. They've lost enough fights and lost enough core heroes that they don't feel fully confident, and they haven't been able to totally de-ward the Radiant jungle or even get wards up of their own, and that's why Farnsworth is able to just keep farming at actually quite a good rate, even while this push is going on. If there were more wards for the Dire and less for the Radiant, you would see the Ember rotating with Remnants, you would see the Prophet teleporting, and they would be corralling this Juggernaut, herding him back into base when he tried to farm like they did to poor Booty Loot last game. That isn't happening, and that's how come Farnsworth is able to continue to scale.
Yeah, Farnsworth just hiding in the trees here, waiting for the next free play for Lose Yourself just to go back to his team to give him that space again. So he's desperately trying to get something that turns the game really just hard back into AGN's favor. TCG, he's still feeling comfortable himself, wanting to go for Kelvin, but it's bait the entire time. Lose Yourself goes in on 3, gets a side of fist, but chains aren't going to be landing to anyone. But the Remnants don't matter, the magical damage bursting up the support. Sonic Wave comes out from Booty Loop, but it's not going to do much, and they're going to be losing 3 heroes so hard. TCG does not have a buyback. They do have one on Booty Loot, they do have one on Vandra, but they're tipping TCG because they know exactly that. The man can't defend, he can't buy back. They're taking the racks and chasing it down. What can Game Design do? He puts down the grass, but it's only hitting Zemistry, and Zemistry doesn't get it. He's got to stand there anyway and hit your buildings, and they're moving down to the next set of racks too. They've taken themselves. They're going to be easily taken the middle. Look at this pushing power. It is just destroying these buildings here, and I think AGM, they do have to buy. You don't get another option. I don't think you're not going to get Megat here if you don't actually stop them. And Farnsworth, he came back in response here, and now it's the final rack, the final opportunity for them to actually kick out Oracle, but it's just Lose Yourself going inside of this when Farnsworth actually going to get fused by Adrenaline Manual Weber. He does it with cheese, he does it with the regen, ready to get pressure, but he is being held on down. Gamezar's got a bit of loot, got to try and do it, but he eats his cheese and baits it out. The macro fire's going down and just burning down absolutely nobody yet, but Lose Yourself jumps on out in the end. Booty Loot gets caught again to swap to save Farnsworth. The living armor on the Farnsworth, everything to keep Farnsworth alive, but your racks aren't staying alive that much longer because Demonstrate Kelvin, everyone, you got still getting pressure, but and now TCG's back. He's got the break, he's got the magic damage, he's got the Aegis pop on up, but who else is gonna die? Boots is fine. Kelvin's fine, waiting for the roar, and they get TCG. He doesn't get his blade mail. The swap is coming, but it's coming a little bit too late. And now we got a killing spree. We've got the destroys, and I think we've got megas and maybe the game.
Zamistry just wielding the massive power currently invested in his hero, waiting for the full duration of that Aegis, finally goes down and stands up with a 10-second BKB on the TA and destroys AGN's last vestiges of resistance. There are a few heartbreaking moments in that fight. Farnsworth, again, I don't know if this is the game plan, but he had another chance to Omni-Slash a rooted Ember Spirit and just kill Lose Yourself outright, but he was spinning and he could not, you can't cancel the spin to cast Omni-Slash, so they missed the chance to finish off that key core hero. That being said, the gold disadvantage is pretty brutal.
It is, and game 2 was a massive brutal. It was a massive showing from Oracle both games here, but they've got a second series. They've got both games, and that's a 2-0 from Oracle against AGN here.
That's such a crazy game because you look, we were trying, and we weren't even puffing them up, right? Like, obviously, as a caster, I'm sure viewers of Dota will know, sometimes you try and keep a little bit more of fantasy in the game, a little bit of hope, even if it's only a small win percentage. You try and play to the outs of the losing team to keep the competitive narrative going. This wasn't one of those cases. AGM were really in that right up until that moment. They stepped out of their base in the top lane and got 3 or 4 of their heroes, their backline heroes, those squishy supports that cannot stand up to any damage from the TA, just smashed into like a car crash by the Oracle team coming down from their triangle high ground. That's just the kind of mistake you cannot make, especially when TCG has committed fully and doesn't have a buyback. The game was lost in that instant.
Yeah, that was a rough feeling, and I think Oracle knew it. As soon as he died, they tipped him. They tipped him again. They tipped him again, and then they just took the entire base. And Farnsworth, he did spend the entire game farming, but I mean, in the end, what did he do with it?
I mean, unfortunately, nothing, but that is 0% his fault. He played that game, I want to say, almost flawlessly, at least from a strategic perspective, right? The idea is that he uses that farm once they are farmed enough to actually take the fight outside of their base, but the team overstepped that invisible death line too early. Farnsworth, you could tell he wasn't ready for that fight to happen. He wasn't there. He was still farming. They needed to hold that defensive position as tough as it is to not crack under the pressure. They needed another 5 to 10 minutes. Certainly not while the TA has a huge BKB and an Aegis. That's not the time to, rest your defensive position.
No, and there is no time for rest because AGN, they're probably feeling a little bit sore after that 2-0 game against Oracle here, but we'll be right back with some more LPL action coming up after this short break. And we are back. That series was feeling a little bit rough for AGN, but I mean, you've been talking a big game about Oracle, and they proved it again. These guys are 6-0 top of net worth. They've proved it against AGN, 2-0ing them. Is there anything really that can stop Oracle?
Yeah, it doesn't take a Dota Oracle to predict this team winning 2-0 in any given week. They definitely are the pace-setting team for the competition, and they've just demonstrated why again. Poor old AGN. They just got kind of ambushed game 1. Game 2 was close, right? Like, if they had played 2 matches with the form they showed in game 2 and with the kind of draft strength that they showed, I think they might have had a chance to take one as they did last week. But you don't get many second chances in LPL Pro, and they are going to have to deal with the consequences now, while Oracle float to the top of the ladder.
That's right. They've gone up there, just sharing up the first position with FFYV2 6-0 with a nice little win there. The Need Uprising following after it, but unfortunately AGN, they're circling down the bottom there with Toons Reborn 0-6 and 1 fine between them. But it's still early in these weeks. It's only week 3, and next week it's still looking pretty good because we got some more games coming. So after week
yeah.
Toons Reborn versus Crossfire versus Oracle.AU to finish it off.
Absolutely. Both interesting games. Toons Reborn versus Internal Discord is sort of a close to a bottom of the table matchup. I know it doesn't look like that right now, but I'm factoring in which teams have had the buys versus which teams like AGN have kind of run into tough opposition after tough opposition. Looking at how the ladder will eventually shake out, you want to try and make it into those top 4 teams that will be in contention for our live LAN finals. And given the way that the games have played out so far, whoever wins that rubber between those two teams could eventually determine who stays in the competition and who goes home first. Well, the second match of the night, that's just a straight up high caliber clash. Crossfire, it's going to be super important for them, given they just dropped a series this week to Neats, that they get a good win against Oracle to stay in contention.
Oh, that is looking like a tough chance, but these games are all valuable going in for the week because it's getting a little bit shorter. Well, week 4 coming in, so we've only got, what, week 5, week 6, week 7, and then it all comes down to those top 4 positions. So the action just keeps on coming here in LPL. The games just keep on getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. Good Dota always makes time fly, and we're already, approaching the halfway mark of the season. So if any teams have been waiting to wake up, maybe one of those teams had the early buy or were just formed for this competition, like Toons Reborn, like this is sort of the last week where you can really excusably have a chance to get your act together. You need to start winning games and really figuring out what your strategy is about. There's rumblings there might be a new patch soon, though, which could be a real factor, right? Some teams are really good at executing on known strategies within a patch, right? Teams with very high-skilled players, and other teams have an advantage when it comes to innovation. So when a new patch potentially releases, we could see some unusual results because some teams are going to be faster to figure out what's good than others.
That is right, but that'll be all the action coming out from here in LPL for this week. And we'd always like to thank our sponsors for this season, Conquer, Vodafone, WD Black, and the New Zealand Defence Force. But we'll be seeing you guys 6:30 for some more Australian Dota here at LPL Season 2 2020. We'll catch you right there.